Let's get into it. Our French Protoss player in the top left is PtitDrogo. Warping in that initial low ground pylon, he's ranked number 34 in the world. His opponent is the fan favorite Master of Misdirection. The Ukrainian Zerg player in the bottom right is Bly. Bly has climbed to a world ranking of number 31. I love it when we get two players enjoying the same tier of success. Bly's already got a suspicious drone going out. Drogo with the gate and go. Definitely want to keep an eye on that drone on the map. But Bly does look to be doing a hatch first here. He throws it down at his natural. Might we be looking at a proxy hatch or a hatch block? With Bly, anything is possible. Drogo is going to board his first gas. All standard timings coming out of our Protoss so far. Bly's drone has taken a side route. Drogo's scout did not see it. This is starting to look like a potential hatch block. Our Zerg player almost has the 300 minerals. Drogo's going to get vision of it as it goes by the pylon. That's 300 minerals and the hatch goes down. Instant reaction from Drogo. He's allocated 5 probes to the cause. They're going to get to work zapping that hatch down. Meanwhile, Drogo's own scout sees that there's no pool for the Zerg. His initial gate completes and he immediately starts chrono boosting a Zealot. He's also going to initiate his Cyber Core. The lost mining time for the Protoss is starting to accrue, but Drogo has at least 75 minerals in this investment. There. Bly has begun his extractor pool combination. Drogo's Zealot is just about to complete. Once it pops out, it immediately gets to work on focusing down that hatch. Zerg has to be careful or he's going to lose it. And he cancels. And he converts it to an Evo block. Only if you're fast enough can you use the existing... Whoa! He cancels the Evo chamber and the drone escapes. That little stunt cost him 18 minerals though. Drogo's going to send his probes back to mining. Holy smokes. Bly's drone's not going to leave. He's going to try and stick around and delay the hatch further with his body. That drone really wants to be our first blood. The Zealot zones the drone out and the probe drops the Nexus. Meanwhile, Drogo's returning the favor by delaying the Zerg third. Oh, and Drogo beats Bly's drone. He grabs his second gas before Bly can gas cap him. Meanwhile, Bly relinquishes and goes for the alternate third base location. But his villainous drone refuses to leave. He's going to keep scouting the main. Technically, with his core complete, Drogo's ready to make his tech choice. But if he does, the drone is going to see it. He's got to balance secrecy with urgency. Meanwhile, Drogo's Adept has almost crossed the map. Bly spawned 8 Lings just in time, but he doesn't have any Queens yet. Oh, but maybe the Lings can get the job done on their own. No, Drogo's Adept escapes, and he punishes the Zerg with a kill. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our first blood. Then he's going to do a quick scout on the natural and shade away before the Queen can pop out. Meanwhile, there's still no tech choice for the Protoss other than Warp Gates. Correction, he's just started a Stargate. Bly's drone will get the scout on it. He has vision. That drone has just been fantastic for Bly. Meanwhile, Protoss completes its wall with a gateway, and the Stalker acting as door guard is going to force off the Overlord. But once it reaches that conveniently placed high ground, it's going to be safe. Nexus completes, Adept returns, and the second Adept is going to finally deal with that drone. Oh, I'm sure Drogo's been dying to get that kill in. Oh, it's a cancellation on the Stargate. Drogo's trying to feed Bly false information. I love it. He's going to use Zerg's mole against him. Instead, he's going for a Robo. Will Bly take the bait? Oh, also a Twilight Council. As for our Zerg player, we've got Lings speeding across the map here. They're going to sprout wings and become Speedlings in about another dozen seconds. But Bly's Overlord should tell him that the wall is complete. And with that extra Stalker, I don't know how he breaks in. Instead, I should be able to relax and enjoy a nice opening Warp Gate ceremony. Truly one of the coolest animations in the game. Maybe there's a way I can get that sound as my ringtone or something. Maybe my alarm clock. Look who's interrupting with the sound of their strategic destruction. Bly's trying to widen a future attack path on that ramp. Is Drogo actually leaving his wall to try to do something about it? No, he might just be looking to secure his third. Oh, Bly just knows his timing. He's hunting the probe. He gets it. This is a good time to mention these guys are teammates and play a lot of games together. Bly has delayed the third, but now he's just kind of throwing away Lings. Drogo's caught with excess money, so he's going to board both his gases at his natural. And he's going to get an Observer and the Zealot leg upgrade. Also a Battle Duck, known to most people as a Templar Archive. And then he adds a couple of gateways. Bly may be the master of misdirection, but it's Drogo who's got it going on this game. Rather than reattempt his Nexus, he's dumped it into tech and power. Nope, never mind, he's doing both. He's added a Nexus as well. Which means Bly's plan to investigate if he can get a cancellation on that third has more merit than it did a second ago. Can he overwhelm the Adepts and Zealot? Bly attempts to surround and pulls back. He goes in again and pulls back. Doesn't look like either player liked their odds in that matchup. Zerg blinks first and backs off. Oh, we've got a Warp Prism. This is starting to look like an Archon drop, possibly reinforced by warp-ins of Zealots. Meanwhile, Bly's going for Lair Tech at his main, and he's got a Roach Warren coming together at his natural. I also see he got suckered into making a Spore at each of his 3 bases. Well, those won't be terribly useful, but maybe a 4th base location will. Drogo's Warp Prism's out on the map already. It's empty though, so we can expect a pause for a warp-in. Right on schedule. It's gonna be 4 Templars. And as soon as they're made, they morph into Archons. Dual morphing Archons always look like eyeballs to me. Eyeballs of total annihilation, maybe. Fortunately, Bly is making 10 Roaches, and he's gonna pair it with Roach Speed. Which is good, because his Lings are not gonna cut it against this Zealot Archon combo. Meanwhile, he's decided to send in an Overseer to really figure out what's going on with the Protoss tech. He's gonna know what a big steaming pile of Zealot Archon looks like. Unfortunately, Drogo's already giving him the live confirmation at his 4th. His Roaches try to distract the Archons to save his base, but Drogo will not be denied. The Roaches will have to fight him off creep. Drogo forces the cancellation. Zealots hit the Roaches, while a smaller squad of Speedlocks go for the 3rd. The Warp Prism is juggling those Archons. It looks like Bly cleans up the last of the Zealots, and then he's gonna cancel the extractor he stashed his drone in and rebuild that hatch. So clever. And then he splits his Roaches and chases off the Zealots at his 3rd. The pause is gonna give both players a chance to reload. The decisions as how the players spend their money right now could be defining for the game. Oh, Drogo's not quite yet done. Looks like he wants to sack a few Zealots for drones here. Speed is about to finish and the Roaches should make quick work of those Zealots. But he will pick up 3 drone kills and keep the worker lead. Bly's supply lead is a bit deceptive because it's all pent up in Roaches. Drogo's adding Roach Killers, aka Immortals, and he's adding a Forge. And for his part, Bly is going to add an Infestation Pit and a single Evolution Chamber. Drogo's already started +1, he's going to take the lead on upgrades. Bly's split off 3 Roaches. He might be looking to see if he can sneak some worker kills at the 3rd. Most of the Zerg Roach pack is still stashed to the north. Oh, bad luck for Bly, huge warp in right as his Roaches arrive. Still, he sneaks behind the mineral line. Oh, force field! The Roaches are pinned and the Zealots close the gap. Textbook defense from Drogo. Don't look now, but suddenly Protoss has the supply lead. Bly decides to send out the bulk of his Roach army. I wonder if he's using that to cover the fact that he's teching. Zerg has started a Spire at its main. It almost seems as though Drogo has anticipated this too. He's putting in a couple of cannons. One at his 3rd and one at his natural. But Bly's not really going for Spire tech. He's just thrown all his money into 8 Swarm Hosts and a Macro Hatch. Drogo's game sense remains on point. This is a great moment for him to attack, and he's doing exactly that. Bly's gonna pull back his Roach army and try to buy time. There'll be a huge momentum shift if he can get those Swarm Hosts online. Drogo with the force field trap to isolate Roaches. Protoss is fighting his way inside. Will he get there in time? The Swarm Hosts are coalescing. Bly's gonna hide them at the top of his ramp. Drogo sets his eyes on the 3rd. Oh, Bly pulls the trigger. Surprise! I've got Swarm Hosts. In fly the Locusts. Surprise! I don't care, says Drogo. He's using his Warp Prism to rotate those beefy Archons. Bly's gonna do a drone pull. I think he knows he has to sack that 3rd. Yeah, it's a goner, alright. And his Roaches retreat up the ramp. Drogo claims his prize and warps in even more forces right on the creep. Bly is a merchant in the business of buying time. Bly needs his Swarm Host to come off of cooldown. Not just some of them, he needs all of them. Drogo's actually gonna bust right up the ramp. Bly's gonna pull back and split his forces, see if he can hit him from 2 sides. Is there a Zerg sandwich in Protoss's future? Or is Protoss just power overwhelming? The Locusts descend, backed by Queens. Protoss is enjoying a +1 attack upgrade advantage. Zerg is making Roaches non-stop, but the Archons are killing them at an alarming rate. A partial Locust wave comes out, it forces the Archons back, but the Immortal Sentry is now on top of the 4th base. Drones are pulled as the Zealots start cleaving into them. Drogo's warping in Zealots 6 at a time. The fourth hatch falls. Zerg's north flank collapses and Protoss swings south. Oh, the charge lots are getting on top of the swarm house while they're on cooldown. Oh, this is like every Zealot's fantasy. It's a mushroom buffet. And then the Zealots quickly pull back as soon as the pink pustules begin to form. This giant wave of locusts is for all the marbles. If Protoss can survive it, Zerg could be finished. Hardened shields go up on the Immortals. 3 new Archons are forming from newly minted Temper. And Bly taps out. Game 1 goes to the French Protoss PtitDrogo. Okay. First off, before I forget, this game has given me a terrific idea for a new Starcraft GIF. I'm going to post it on my Twitter account. So if you want a copy, don't hesitate to pop by there. Love to see you. But back to the game for a second. It seems to me there's a couple of ways to look at this one. Drogo's misdirection caused Bly to misread the Zealot Archon build and made him pay for it. Bly was caught building air defense and teching when he flat out needed more defensive units. But I don't know. It's not like he was caught defenseless. He had a ton of roaches. I might be more inclined to say Drogo just timed his push perfectly. He hit right when Bly was prepping his swarm hosts, but before he could get them arrayed properly. It was a massive investment, which Bly couldn't deploy effectively. But if you give him another 30 seconds or a minute, he absolutely will, like cliffing your base. It didn't help that Protoss had the upgrade advantage at the critical point in the final combat either. If timing is everything, then Drogo is everything. But you know what? Game 1 isn't everything. It's a best of 3, and we're going to...
Game 2.
This is a good time to mention that our players are actually battling to try to get out of Group D. D is in death because the other players are Cyril and Dream. So if Drogo or Bly hope to advance, this matchup could be critical for them. Our Ukrainian Zerg's past performance was not enough to get him Bly! But something tells me the intensity's only gonna ratchet up. Once again, there's the low ground pylon for Protoss. Last game he showed us his draconic fire. He is PtitDrogo! I know you know it, but I still love it every time. The probe that plants the pylon picks up a load of minerals from the lower nodes at the natural, delivers it to the nexus, which gives it exactly enough time to turn around and plant the gateway. And then it scouts. It does everything. But more important is it looks like Bly has switched his build. It's a 16 pool for the Zerg. Remember, Game 2 is going to be on the map Zen. A map so small that I like to say the Zerg natural is a proxy hatch. This could be a defensive move if he's worried about a cannon rush, or it could be a sign of aggression. Oh, Bly's concealing a drone. Hated the timing on Drogo's scout. Here it comes. Look at this beautiful move. And now his drone's going to slip away to the natural. In Game 1, Drogo delayed Bly's third hatch considerably. He's not going to let that happen here. Drogo's figured it out. He knows he's been snookered. I love these tiny mini duels over edges that evolve in a series. Regardless, it looks like Drogo's comfortable to continue his set build. He's got the minerals for the Nexus and the core. True or false? Zerg builds a hatchery faster than Protoss builds a Nexus. Answer, false. They both have a build time of exactly 71 seconds. So does the command center. As soon as the pool finished, Bly immediately went for 6 lings, well before starting his queen. Bly's looking to see if he can sow a little early chaos here. Fortunately, Drogo's probe's gonna see that. Though, maybe not fortunate for the probe, 2 lings have picked it up. Bly has no intention of letting Drogo get the first blood this game. Fortunately, Drogo did decide to make a zealot. Likely a wise reaction when he saw that earlier pool. Oh, Bly just started a roach warren. Ling speed 2, of course. 1 zealot is not gonna cut it for Drogo for long. 4 lings are gonna beat the wall. They're into the natural. Drogo's chrono boosting an adept. He's gonna need that. Lings are headed up the ramp. They're gonna get into the main. Unupgraded lings are approximately 25% faster than an unupgraded zealot. Drogo pulls off his probes to defend. The lings pull off. They're badly hurt, and they have no probe kills to show for it. But the 2 trailing lings are still pursuing the original scouting probe. They get it, and that's good for a first blood. But Drogo's adept is on the case now. She gleefully one-shots an injured Zergling. And then another. Bly's lings can't hope to get a surround with the zealot there. But he can try to outmaneuver the Protoss. His lings are going back in again for more kills. Drogo pulls off a huge whack of probes to defend. He's losing mining trips, but boy is he making the world unsafe for Zerglings. Bly does snag a second probe, but the Adeptus cut off their escape and they're about to get shut down. 6 lings for 2 probes, not great, but you gotta factor in scouting value and lost mining time. And a steeping pile of who cares because the Roach Warren is done and the roaches are already out on the map. Zen is so small, 4 roaches almost halfway across already. Oh, and he's started a Ravager morph. There's no third base for Bly, by the way. This is really looking like a serious 2-base timing, possibly an all-in. Drogo went for a Robo, which is excellent, but he opted for an Observer. It's going to help him chase away that Overlord, but all of a sudden he's got much bigger problems. Drogo saves his Adept with a Nexus Recall, and then he immediately starts the Immortal he wished he made before. He's got a Stalker for a Door Guard, but the Ravager's going to push that away. Which means the Lings get inside, they go for the famous Caster Pylon. Drogo immediately moves to warp in a backup. Corrosive Bile annihilates the pylon. Everything is unpowered. The Immortal's no longer being produced. The probes come in to fight. And Bly's all too happy to kill them. Oh, and he gets a Bile right on the Stalker in hold position. Nobody wants to die and, oh, never mind that. The probes just brought down a Roach. You don't see that every day. But Drogo has lost 9 probes. He's still up 2 workers though. Bly isn't droning at all. He's just pumping Roach Ling. And it's been that way for almost 2 minutes solid. Drogo's pylon is back up, which means his Immortal is gonna complete, and he's gonna try to add a much-needed shield battery. A handful of those will make his base much harder to crack. Once Bly sees that Immortal, he has very little incentive not to morph all of his roaches into Ravagers, and that's what he's doing. He's also starting to go after the Protoss core. Bly obviously hasn't heard that I recently banned that maneuver. The Stalker has a range of 6, but the Bile has a range of 9. We watched Bly do this to Neeb in another series. If you want to stop the Ravagers, you can't turtle, you gotta come out. And that's what the Speedlings are for. The core shields are gone and the pylon's in tatters, but Drogo did kill an expensive Ravager. A second shield battery and a second pylon are coming in. The Sim City might not be pretty, but this base is getting to be a pretty tough take. Bly thinks he's up for the challenge. He throws his Lings at the wall. He can't break in. He pulls back. It looks like he's eyeing the core instead once more. Drogo's about to get that second Immortal, but the core is about to be lost. Get ready for the magenta explosion. The Immortals come out to try to get Zerg to reprioritize. It works, but only momentarily. He's back on the core. There it is. There's a massive hole in the Protoss wall. That's probably even more important than the delay it'll cause to Protoss's tech line. Bly attacks. Zerg is in the Protoss base. The shield batteries are working overtime. He gets another pylon and unpowers the Robo once more. Drogo's sentry drops a force field, which is perfect. It blocks the Lings from getting inside. Bly has to pull back to stop the sentries from getting free shots. Drogo's not making a new core, by the way. He's gonna prove me wrong. He's just gonna roll with this. But Bly's back inside with his Lings once again. He skips the natural. He's going for the main. It's just 4 Lings, but it's gonna cause a lot of chaos. Drogo's been relying on his superior mining to make this all hold together, and he just lost that. He's had to pull all his probes from his main, and Bly has not taken his foot off the Ling production. He's still got 23 on the map, with 14 more on the way. Drogo's had to pull an Immortal to clean up his main. He did not want to have to do that, but he couldn't afford not to. Fortunately, he is about to get his Immortal count back up to 3. He found a new pylon placement for that Robo. Has that given Protoss the confidence to push out? Or is the plan to turtle until he hits that critical mass? Bly is not transitioning. Still no third base, but he is finally going to add a few more drones. Neither player has even considered the possibility of an upgrade. I think I'm going to call this game the Siege. Bly's tried switching the direction of his attack. I don't love this angle though. He gives his opponent the high ground, and there's very little chance of busting up that ramp. Especially since the Protoss wall is already down to the northwest. I'm sure Bly knows that. He probably just wants to attack from a few different directions to see if he can split Protoss's defenses. Bly is droning up a lot more heavily now. I could be wrong. The siege might be over. We might be onto a contain now. Possibly in which Zerg takes a third base. Drogo got supply capped. He's trying to play for time while he fixes that. Time was in his favor, but Bly's just flipped the switch on that. He's droned up to a worker lead now. Oh, I love that! Drogo guessed the Ravagers were trying to pull him out of position for the Lings to slip in. He faked it, and when the Lings slipped in, he nailed him with a force field. Ling corpses decorate the tile where the Protoss wall once stood. Drogo's decided he's got enough Immortals. He's making a warp prism. Lings have slipped in again, but I'm not sure there's enough. Ooh, no, they got by the Immortal. Can they get those critical probe kills? Bly's gonna use the moment to attack with his main army as well. He's getting probes, but he's also causing attention damage. Bly has started a third, by the way. This is no longer all in. Oh, Drogo uses his warp prism to pick up all his probes. That was awesome. How often do you get to see 6 probes in a warp prism? But the disruption index in Drogo's base is just a little too high. He's got to clean this up and stabilize. Marginally, he's got the army lead, he's got the supply lead, but it's been Bly that's been dictating this game. But now that there's a warp prism with 2 immortals in it, that could change. Bly has to be concerned about the possibility of a very serious counterattack. What might Toss do with his newfound breathing room? Oh! Bly's army has collided with itself in the reduced mineral fields. His Lings are advancing while his Ravagers are retreating. He also just got supply blocked. Drogo just ripped up a whole bunch of his overlords participating in the siege. For a contain to work properly, you gotta have vision. But those overlords are all now soft targets for the stalkers. Bly's had to donate almost all his money to the Overlord Recovery Foundation. I mean, you get a tax receipt, but it always comes late. Momentum shifted to Drogo. His supply lead is pulling away. No! Bly gets his Floodlings into the natural! Drogo has to perform a Nexus recall to save his probes! Bly absolutely needed this. He bought himself the time to get his overlords back online. Flush with larva and supply, he's making a huge order of Lings. And Drogo's just lost 11 workers. 12. 13. And in seconds, the momentum has swung back to Bly. What an awesome seesaw game this is. Slow Zealots chasing Lings is brutal, man. You can just hear them complaining. Can't we get some legs, people? We need some legs! And Bly has many, many more Lings on the map. Anytime Zerg can keep his opponent busy with just cheap Lings, good things will happen. But as long as Protoss has a warp prism with double immortal inside, this game is far from over. Oh, that last recall actually trapped one of Drogo's immortals. Oh, the warp prism rescued it before I could make fun of it. Darn these skillful players. We've just hit the 10-minute mark, and the only upgrades are warp gates and Ling speed. You know the players have been busy when. Once again, it looks like Drogo's going to try to generate some offense. He sees speedlings go by, but he's not turning back. Bly's like, fine by me, but I'm gonna hit first. He slides into Protoss's ugly remashed wall. Drogo's gonna try to deal with it with warpins. It's working rather well, though Lings can't get too much surface area on any of the attacking units. Bly sees the problem and withdraws. And just like that, it looks like Protoss is about to have its first offensive. But with this much power, he might only need one. Bly quickly does the math. He's gonna sack his third. Will Drogo accept the offer, or will he push on to the natural? He's gonna take it. Free third base, everyone. Come get your free third base. Holy Hannah. Drogo's actually gonna make a Twilight Council. Might come early for those Zealots. They could get their legs. Drogo's gonna pull back after killing the third. He might be worried about a counterattack, and he should be. Bly's used the time to up the Ravager count to 14. This is one hefty force making its way across the map. Drogo sees it. He's moving to intercept. This clash could be critical. Corrosive Biles force the Protoss back. Drogo's gonna recall. The Lings are gonna get some damage in. I think they got out before that 60 damage Bile hit. And an Immortal is trapped again. I wonder if it's the same one. Bly is gonna remake that third, but he's not droning up. He's adding Lings to add to this attack. Drogo knows what's coming. He's warping in Stalkers and adding another Immortal. Does he want to untrap that Immortal? It's well defended from Lings, but on the other hand, he can't dodge Corrosive Vials. And Bly has a lot of Corrosive Vials! They're just shredding the pylons. Bly gets vengeance and supply blocks Drogo. And he gets the Robo! Things just got very dark for the Protoss. That's so much Bile firepower. Try saying that 5 times fast. It's just acid artillery nailing the Protoss. The Zealots come out to fight. They don't have their legs yet. They're still on back order. And there's so many Ravagers, they can just eliminate them before the Zealots can close. Drogo's in a terrible spot, but when you got 4 Immortals with Hardened Shield, nothing's over. Of course, before I can finish saying that, he's down to 3. The Lings are in the mineral line. I'm so wrong. This is so over. GG! Bly has tied it up. He finally breaks Drogo with a powerful 2-base siege. Quick footnote for the record. Bly did kill that trapped Immortal, but not before it got 17 kills on it. Not too shabby. I know I should try to share some deep insights as to what really happened in that game, but I just want to get on to the next one and settle this. So let me quickly just show you Bly's random act of core cruelty, and then we'll get on to...
Game 3.
We had the Protoss steamroll, we had the Zerg siege. What will Game 3 bring? Big things come in small packages when you're PtitDrogo! This is me pretending to care about that low ground pylon. Because of course, what we're more interested in is what is this drone doing going out again? Hey, anybody remember that Offspring video from 1998? Well, this dude's pretty Bly for a Zerg guy. I totally apologize, that was awful, even for me. Anywho, fortunately Drogo's gonna scout right after his gate. He's gonna want to see what's up. I know we'll be watching this drone with great interest. The mineral accumulation suggests it's going to be a hatch. But with Bly, I never know if I'm looking at a proxy hatch or a hatch block. Looks like he's gonna slip in. It's gonna be a hatch block. We can all relax. Well, unless you're PtitDrogo, that is. And he doesn't. Drogo's reaction is immediate. How can you tell these guys are teammates? Drogo expects this kind of junk before it even happens. The probe comes in and sees a completely empty base. Only now does the first structure get built, and that's a spawning pool. But here's the thing I don't get. There's a second drone out there. The drone's acting like he's gonna proxy hatch, but he's got no minerals at this point. Good reaction from Drogo. He's gonna add a second gate and his cyber core. We don't see that nearly enough. I don't know what's gonna happen, but the early game is gonna be ultra important. Sacrificing some of that late game potential is totally justified. There goes the proxy hatch. You don't see a hatch block and a proxy hatch at the same time. Only Bly would do this. And the reason Bly's doing it? Because he knows you don't do this. So no one's going to expect him to. Pool's about to finish. And the hatch block's about to be destroyed. It converts to an Evo chamber block. But with that much Protoss muscle on it, it's not going to last long. Bly gets it. He cancels and he's out of there. How do these drones keep getting away? It's so irritating. Once again, Drogo immediately blocks the potential gas cap. This game is dangerous because the players totally know what each other are thinking. Except for maybe the part that there's also a proxy hatch. Or that Bly has just gone for a Roach Warren. We've seen Bly do this to Neve, but not with a hatch block beforehand. Okay, Drogo is on it. And he's going to use his double gates to add another Stalker and a Zealot. But we've also got a quartet of Lings running in here. Bly knows the wall's open because the door guard is busy killing the hatch. No, the Stalker's out in time. But is he going for the Overlord? Yeah, he's out of position. This is some serious mind games. Proxy's about to complete. There it is. The Stalker's joining the Zealot. How's the door? Has he sealed it? Or are 4 Zerglings getting inside for a look? Drogo adds another Zealot onto the proxy. And Bly's making a roach. Here comes the run-in. Oh, he's in all right. How much damage can Bly get done with just 4 Lings? He grabs a probe. Oh, the actual first blood happened off screen as the Queen killed the probe in the main. Unforgivable. First roach is here with 2 more in the works. Here come the broodlings. Oh, Bly micros him to go after the Stalker. He's gonna bring it down. Drogo is down to 1 Stalker. The proxy may be gone, but there's still 2 roaches being made from the larva of the ashes. Oh, we got ourselves a bit of a parade here as everybody's chasing injured units. Drogo really wants to get that roach. Bly's dispatched some Lings to save it. He's terribly supply blocked, by the way. Instead of Overlords, he was making hatches. Drogo tries to save his Stalker with a recall. No! Bly gets it! He's got more Stalkers on the way, but is his door still open? Yes, it is! The pylon block is an instant too late. Drogo is in so much trouble. The famous caster pylon's under attack. That's everything for Drogo right there. Oh, he knows he missed the pylon block. He GG's. What an abrupt end to the series. Well, that was cool. Normally, when a Zerg does a proxy hatch at the Protoss third base location, the Zerg player is hoping to catch the Protoss player deep in macro mode and unready to defend. When you do a hatch block at the Protoss natural, you force units out of the Protoss player to kill it, which is the opposite of what you want to have happen when you're going for a proxy hatch at the third. In this case, it may have even promoted Drogo's choice to make a second gateway. Ergo, this build could never work. The brilliance is, that also means no one would ever expect it. That sounds like Bly to me. Though the truth is, this game wasn't just about surprise. A key event was that Drogo opted to pull his door guards out for combat and rely on a pylon block instead. That decision is reasonable, but he wasn't able to execute on the pylon block at the right moment. I know I couldn't, but I bet you someone with Drogo's skill makes that block at least 7 games out of 10. It also really mattered that the Broodlings killed Stalker number 1 and Stalker number 2 didn't escape in the recall. Those little victories add up quickly in a 4-minute game. Let's face it, Bly was on fire. Quick housekeeping note. For the recent future, a number of my games are not going to appear on sc2cast.com. In particular, the Stay at Homestory Cup series. So if you normally go there to link to Zugzwang Starcraft VODs, I urge you to consider subscribing instead. Not only will taking a second to hit that button help keep you in the know, it'll help a small YouTuber out, which will put you on the bleeding edge of counterculture. To continue your StarCraft journey, Nova advises you to click the video in the upper rectangle. But Kerrigan warns you to watch your 6 and click the video in the bottom rectangle. Or you can stimpack your StarCraft experience. Subscribe to Zugzwang Starcraft. Just hit the circle. From my base to yours, Zugzwang out.